Hello, I'm Krista McAllister, and welcome to Cerius Leadership. Whether you are growing your business, growing your career, or possibly both, thank you for listening. I am so looking forward to today's discussion. My guest, Jason Weiss, is not just a best-selling author and fractional general counsel. He's an attorney growth coach who's shaking up the industry. Jason's book, Should They Never Taught You in Law School, is the survival guide for every lawyer who wishes they had known this, but never got it. So here's the twist. Jason is now on a mission to break free from the traditional practice of law and dedicate his expertise to coaching, teaching, mentoring, and advising the next generation of leaders. If you're ready for some no-nonsense advice about building your business or the life you want, you're in the right place. Jason, I'm excited to get into our discussion today.
Me too, and thank you so much. That was a great introduction. I may have to cut and paste that and use that for myself. So thank you. That was
You
awesome.
like that? Well, now we've got to live up to the hype here.
I know. I'm a little nervous, but we got this. We got this.
And I want it because your book, you've got that catchy, flashy title, but I think it's also a very real title with a lot of real information. I really want to jump into what prompted you or what led to writing the book.
So thank you for about the title. Originally, I was going to call it The Things That They Never Taught You in Law School, or The Stuff They Never Taught You in Law School, or whatever it was. And I thought that people would think that's a one-off, right? The stuff they never taught you in law school. And you'd read it and you'd be like, okay, I got it. But this book is only, I think, 18 chapters. I could probably write another 180 chapters. So that's why I made it, instead of it was just stuff, or the other word. So it's stuff they never taught you in law school. And it resonated with me because I'm on the phone all the time with attorneys, new attorneys, old attorneys, male attorneys, female attorneys, whatever it is. And the commonality is we're always learning. And we're always trying to figure out, what's the best way? How do I negotiate? Do I decide to, hit the other side really hard? Do I decide to take a nice approach? Do I tell them, the flaws in their case? Do they tell me? So the law is the practice. And when I say it's the practice, there's no right or wrong most of the time, right? If you lose, I guess you were wrong, but maybe not, because then you could appeal it. If you win, you were right, but maybe not, because they can appeal it. So it's called the practice of law, because we're going to keep practicing and practicing and getting better and getting better. And I don't know if there's ever going to be an exact science. The reason I chose to write a book was I started where I was going to make a course and do all this. I've taken tons of courses. I know for a fact that I don't enjoy looking through the PDFs or looking through this and going through the slides. I just don't enjoy it. So why am I going to create something that I know I don't like? So I gave up on the course writing, and I had all this material and all this good stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just start writing it as a book. And it took off due to some circumstances, with my father and health and traveling with my son. I had more and more time on my hands to write. Before I knew it, I had 18 chapters and I had everything ready to go. And I worked with a publishing company and put it out. And it was a fast, I started in, I think, August, and I published in January. So 4 months, 5 months? It was quick.
It's amazing how quick that turnaround can be, but that creative process, when you've got that book, that story, that information in you, and it sounds like it wasn't just an academic endeavor. You had a lot of stuff going on. And normally someone just sit down and write a book of, here's the stuff I wish I had known then. Here's the stuff that I'm going to help others because of how I felt having to not know it and learn it. You had that story in you.
Yeah. And I think that's what the younger, let's change that. All professionals. I think that's what all professionals think. They think, and I read it in blogs and groups, and, I'm practicing 5 years. I'm doing this 20 years. I'm doing that. We're all going to continue to learn, right? Start something new. Like, I'm researching how to become a bankruptcy attorney. I don't know anything about bankruptcy, but I'm learning. And hopefully that's something that, as the economy changes, bankruptcy attorneys are going to be more in need, either for restructuring or help me. I bit off more than I could chew. So it's a constant learn. And that's what I would tell lawyers. It's a constant learn, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, it's not a big deal. Hey, I don't understand it. Hey, I don't have the answer. Hey, give me some time. Throwing your hands up in the air and saying, I don't know, no. But be real. Ask me a question. I don't know that, but let me look into it. Give me a day to get back to you. Give me 2 days to get back to you.
And that's a theme that I'm really seeing a lot right now. You talked about blogs and groups, and I'm seeing that crop up quite a bit, not just with business owners, but with other professionals, CPAs, attorneys, anyone who's needing to build a book of business, to say, I was trained as an expert in law or medicine or CPA or whatever else might be. I wasn't trained to do sales and marketing. I wasn't trained on customer service and how to interact with clients. That's a real challenging. So that raising your hand and say, I may know what I know about this, but I don't know anything about this. And we're
And
seeing that more and more of ask.
most people don't want to ask. They're just like, oh no, I should know this. Or yeah, look, if it's something, if you're a family law attorney and they're asking you a question about divorce or custody or all, yeah, you should know that, right? You're practicing 10, 15, 20 years, you should know it. But if you're a family law attorney and you get a question about a parking ticket, you're not going to know. And the response could be, I don't know that. So I could do one of two things. I can either look it up and let you know, or I can refer you to the attorney down the street who all they do is traffic tickets, and I'll put in a good word for you. And I'll work with you together. And I'm sure that attorney will be able to help you. And that's what it is. You don't go to the foot doctor because your ear hurts. You go to an ENT. Same thing with lawyers.
And when you say there's a chapter in your book, I think it's something effect. It's okay to say, I don't know. What are some recommendations you have? I call it building yourself a village. Everyone should always have a village of experts and other knowledgeable people around them. From your perspective of being in the practice of law, growing that, and growing your own coaching business and fractional general counsel, what does that village look like? What are some typical advisors or experts that you'd recommend either for yourself or just about anyone to surround themselves with? So when you say, I don't know, you can turn to your right or left and say, but I know someone who does.
So I got a phone call last night from a woman who she got my name through, and she dropped two other attorneys. I didn't know who either one of them was. And she said, I hope you do criminal law. Now, there is another Jason Weiss in Florida whose middle initial happens to also be S, like mine, and he is a criminal attorney. So I called this woman back and I said, ma'am, I just want to let you know, I think you got the wrong Jason Weiss. I don't know who Ted or Brian are that you made reference to, and I don't do criminal law. She's like, oh my God, it must be the wrong person. I saw there was another one. You came up first, da 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 da. And we just got to talking. And she told me it had to do with a contractor's license, that she has a license and may not have followed a rule and this and that and all this stuff. And I privilege, all this stuff. She, at the end of the day, I got her to talk to a construction lawyer, and that's what she needed. So the book and the resource and the Rolodex, like I used to say when I was younger, you had this Rolodex on your desk. It's whoever you think knows the stuff, who you can trust to do right. And there are so many things by do right. Take care of the client, not charge a lot. Take care of the client, and if they have an issue that falls in your wheelhouse, send it back. Be honest with the client and say, I don't know, and refer them to somebody else. I think that's how you start. And also, look, I've had people call me up and say, hey, you referred me to so-and-so. They did a good job on my case, but they billed the heck out of me. Like, I can't do that anymore. So I know for a smaller business or a smaller client, I can't send them to that person because they bill heavy. I have another one that said they never return my phone calls. Well, don't ever refer that person out again. My rule of thumb is I try not to just recommend one person. I try to give options, Because if I say, oh my God, if you need leadership training, go to Kristen, right? For purposes of today, yes, go to Kristen, right? But if it's, let's just say, I wanna go get a soft drink, right? I want a beverage. Okay, me personally, I like Coke Zero. That's mine. So I would say, look, I drink Coke Zero, but if you don't want caffeine, maybe try Sprite Zero, or maybe if you don't like Coke products, try Dr. Pepper, so that you could try the three and you can come back and say, I went with Sprite Zero. It was so good. As opposed to, hey, you told me to go to Coke Zero, wasn't right. It's your fault. You're the wrong person. I trusted you. If I give you three, you're bound to find one that you like.
Well, it's amazing that when you have those conversations, and this is whether you're looking for a referral source or looking for anything as you're building out your village, that just talking to people, sometimes you learn more in those discussions and get clarity around the situation that you're in and the help that you need through those various discussions.
And and just letting people know, look, I'm originally from New York, right? I talk with my hands, I'm
No.
animated, I talk fast, right? Exactly. Somebody from the Midwest might not want me as their attorney. I talk too fast. I don't shave enough. I use my hands too much, whatever it is. I have no problem with that. Maybe you need someone from the Midwest to be your attorney. Maybe the case is out in the Midwest. So there are so many there are so many different reasons for why you pick somebody. You pick somebody that you can level with, somebody that you trust, somebody that has the same ideals as you. Look, if it's family law and you're getting divorced from your husband, a lot of women would prefer a woman attorney, um, just because there's a comfort level. Some people that are getting divorced want attorneys that have been divorced, because they understand the pain, they understand what it's going through. I remember one time there a woman came to the office where I worked, and I would always bring my dog with me. And she walked in and she started crying. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Did he scare you? She's like, no, I'm meeting a new attorney who happens to share space with you. And I left my emotional support animal at home. And this dog is here. It's a sign from God that I need to hire this attorney. And it's funny because that attorney would always gripe about, you bring your dog to the office. I understand you're the landlord, but you bring him here and I got clients coming in. So at that point right there, it's like, you can bring Vader to the office anytime you want. I'll shut my mouth.
So you
But
never know when an emotional support dog is needed.
bingo. So you never know. And you have to look, it's with anything in life. You marry a person that you can get along with. You work with a person you can get along with. You share a cubicle with a person you could get along with. That's what you want. And it doesn't matter, same religious background, same economic background. Doesn't matter. Like, I want someone with similar thoughts to me. I want to work hard. I want to play hard. Those are my thoughts. If you're in on that, let's go. If you want to not work hard and you just want to play hard, well, more power to you. I can't do it.
So I'm going to twist that a little bit as we're talking about getting those right resources. I don't know who you're going to go to. Make sure you've got that village there. One of the chapters in your book is build your own board. And kind of, I'm curious on your thought process and what you share in that as to why building your own board, because everyone thinks board of directors. A board's going to then be the ones telling me what to do. You've got to be able to build trust. You talked about, someone who's thinking similar to me versus someone who's going to challenge me. What are some of the things that you cover in that chapter when it comes to building your own board? Because I wish I could write that as a skyscraper right now.
It is. So for me, it's not really, it's a board of advisors is how I would put it.
Yep.
Or a support board, not a board that you answer to, but a board that you all come together and you do it. So for example, I'm getting in more and more into AI, artificial intelligence, and I'm working with a group of 3 or 4 gentlemen, and these guys know AI inside and out. And when I'm sitting in meetings with them, I am literally just scratching pieces of notes. These are from a meeting last night, scratching down all of these terms and all of these programs and all of these things. And it's lost on me. But then something pops up in the conversation where they're talking about like AI interacting with clients. I'm like, time out. FCC came out with a brand new ruling that if you're going to go ahead and use AI, person on the other side needs to know. And they were like, huh, tell us more about that. So I was able to bring my knowledge. So if I have a question about AI, how it works, how to put it together, these guys know their stuff. Me, when it came to a legal portion, I knew my stuff. Now, if we want somebody to market the company, we're going to get somebody else. We're going to get, marketing company down the street, and we want to make sure marketing company knows about AI. But also back to the whole board thing, you want your board to be people you trust, right? It might not be, hey, what color shoes go with my belt? I mean, come on, black shoes, black belt. Of course, my daughter taught me that. But you might want somebody to say, the new trend is you could wear a black belt with brown shoes. And well, I don't think I could do it. My daughter wouldn't let me. But let me tell you why. So it's got to be a two-way street. And I'm learning this with coaching, because coaching, like law, is the practice of it, right? The practice of coaching, the practice of consulting. And I think they're interchangeable, basically. But people used to think as a coach is rah, 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 go get it, go get it, go get it. And that's not what I think a coach is. I think a coach is somebody that will challenge you to get to your decision. And when I say that, it's if you came to me and said, Jason, I've got this wonderful starfish behind me and it's blue and, it's gorgeous. And I have a lot of other great things behind me and they're blue, but I don't know. What do you think? And I'd be like, well, I think it looks nice. It looks there, but why all of a sudden that starfish? And you could be like, well, that starfish, I got it on a trip and I hurt my ankle on the trip and it makes me think poorly about it. Okay, so what would you put in the starfish's place? Oh, I just got back from, this trip and I got this blue, boot, and oh my God, I was hiking and I love it and all of this and I really missed that trip. And you just turn to me and you're going to be like, you know what? I'm pulling down the starfish. I'm putting up the boot. I didn't say anything, right? I just asked you the questions. And sometimes it's hard for us to ask ourselves those questions. And that's what a coach and a consultant does. It helps you formulate your own answer. If I were to tell you, take down the starfish and put up the boot, I don't know if you would have been okay with that. You might have just been, you know what? Why is he telling me what to do? I'm paying him to help me on coaching, and he's telling me what to do. And then someone walks in and they're like, where's the starfish? Why do you have this boot up there? You're going to be like, oh, Jason said to do it. Well, now it's your decision. And you'll stand by it. I put the boot there because I went on a hiking trip and I had such a great time with my family and my friends. It was the best trip ever. And that boot reminds me of it. As opposed to, yeah, Jason said I should take down the starfish.
And it goes back to you're able to answer the question, why? Why did you make that decision? Why are we going in that direction? Why is that there versus this there?
Yep.
And you're owning that decision.
Correct. And look, as growing up as a kid, if my parents told me I couldn't stay out past a certain point, I'd want to stay out past that certain point. But when my parents said to me, what time do you think is a good curfew? And I'd be like, well, the movie gets out at 11, it's 20 minutes away. Let me build in a little bit of time for traffic, maybe, grabbing a soda or a soft drink or a burger. How about midnight? And my parents were like, okay. Because deep down inside, they probably thought anything after, anything before 1 o'clock would have been fine.
You do a lot of coaching. Early in your career, or as you've launched the different businesses, have you worked with a coach? Kind of who did you have around you as a board or coaching mentors?
I have worked with various different coaches all throughout the years. So my brother is a psychiatrist and he worked for the VA when he graduated from medical school. And one of the things that was required was that all of the psychiatrists needed to go to their own sessions, their own therapy. They all needed someone. I don't know all the fine points, but basically, like, I think you could go to anybody. It could be anywhere, it was part of your health coverage, but it was mandatory. I feel that having a coach, as a coach, it's mandatory. You should do it. Because you learn things, you hear things. And one of the things I talk about in the book is that if you're a doctor, go make an appointment at another doctor. Go sit in the lobby, see what it feels like to be in the waiting room, see how it feels to wait for an hour for the receptionist not to tell you what's going on. Like, be on both sides. So having a coach will allow you to see how he or she does it with you, and having various different coaches is good. I have one coach that helps me more with my headspace, where I'm at, what's going on, how to clear it, how to focus it, how to multitask. I have another coach that helps me straight up on marketing. I have a third coach that helps me out on just Instagram. Your posts are good. Here's how they can get better. Let's clean it up. Let's do this. I've worked with lifestyle coaches. I've worked with energy coaches. I've worked with business coaches. And again, I have a great relationship with them all. I could go back to anyone at any time. But I do have one that I work with consistently once a week. She and it's just a conversation and it feels great.
It does. And that's where we're seeing a big increase in people going to those experts, and whether they're even as business owners. I can bring someone in, I can't afford them on AI. I can bring someone in order to be my chief AI officer. No way can I afford that. I don't need that. Can I have someone just coach me on AI? What questions should I be asking? What do I need to know? So I'm curious, with your coaching, I'm going to throw you a little bit one here, is what were some of your aha moments? Because you said a coach is there to help lead you to the decisions that are right for you and you making those decisions. What were some of those aha moments or decision points where you went, how did I not get there on my own? This is amazing.
So for me, it
Mhm.
was the constant answer to the question. For me, it was always, I would always know what I didn't want. I couldn't figure out what it was that I wanted. What didn't I want? I didn't want to have to bill time. Well, attorneys have to bill time. I didn't want to have to answer to anybody. Well, attorneys have to answer to the firm boss. They also have to answer to their clients, and they also have to answer to, the court and the judges. I didn't want to have to leave my house on a weekend, right? Well, most attorneys are working 6 days a week, 7 days a week, five. So COVID changed that. Now I can work from my house. So that was
Mhm.
a change. I will give that. But it was basically for me to figure out what it was. And when I boiled it down, I really enjoyed helping people. I really enjoyed tackling problems. What I didn't like is being told I needed to do it, being told I needed to do it a certain way, and also at the same time doing the boring stuff. Like, I don't want to sit there and analyze a 50-page lease because I don't
Mhm.
want to do it. I don't want a discovery. I don't want to fight over discovery. I don't. So I was able to do that. And my one of my aha moments was when I was actually working with a newer attorney, just starting coaching pre-COVID, and I was out for a walk, and he and I were talking, and he said to me, Jason, I hate my job. And I'm like, okay, tell me about it. I have to be in at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't get to leave until 8 o'clock at night. I am getting married. I don't get to see my fiance at all. And, I have to work on weekends and I don't get paid well. I said, okay, what do you get paid? And he threw out a number. I'm just going to throw out a random pretend number, right? Let's just say he said he got paid $30,000 a year. And I said to him, there's a formula that lawyers, businesses, everybody uses. It's a third, a third, a third. A third goes to the house, a third goes to you, and a third goes to overhead. So now what's your billable hours? And he said, whatever it was. So I said, if you take your billable hour and you multiply it by the amount of hours that you have to bill, so 2,000 times, let's say 100, there's $200,000. So the most you could ever make is a third of that. So you're looking at like 60 something $1,000 a year. He's like, well, I want to make triple that. I'm like, well, you need to increase your billable rate. He goes, huh, I didn't think of that. And I said, you're doing insurance defense. Yeah. You're not going to get more than that as insurance defense. 150, 160, 170. That's all you're going to get. Now, maybe 250. So he said, huh. So I said, so what is it that you hate? He goes, working so hard and not getting paid well. I said, well, you got to get out of insurance defense law.
Said every
Hmm.
business owner out there.
And, and
Amen.
and again, so my aha was He didn't hate the law. He didn't hate his firm. He didn't like the area of practice. And that's what I try to help when attorneys, or and my book's not just for attorneys, just so you know. It is geared towards them, but I have so many friends and family members that are not lawyers that read it, that said your sequel needs to be something similar, but like not for just lawyers. So that's going to be the subtitle. It's going to be, the stuff they never taught you, or more stuff they never taught you in law school, a how-to guide for everybody, something like that. And you can apply that to everything in life, right? I'm not happy. Well, why aren't you happy? Because I'm not 6'4". I'm only 5'10". There's not much I can do about that, right? But I'm not happy because I don't get to see my wife and kids enough. Okay. Well, what's your day look like? Well, I wake up in the morning and they already left for school. All right. Well, that's number one. Why don't you wake up a little bit earlier and say goodbye to them before they leave for school? Oh. By the time they're done with all their activities, it's 6 o'clock at night, and I don't get home from work until 8 o'clock because I work late and I want to avoid the traffic. Well, why don't you work from home one day a week? Why don't you Skype with them? Why don't you Zoom with them? Why don't you pick them up? There are so many different ways, and by the time you get to it, it's like, I don't hate the job. I just pigeonholed or put myself in a corner that's not good. I got to fix it. How do you fix it? Okay, let's talk. Let's come up with an answer that works for you. I have to stay late Tuesdays and Thursdays because we have late client meetings. Great. What about Wednesdays and Fridays? I could leave early on Fridays. Could you work from home Friday? Yeah, I guess. Why not? Well, what? And as an outsider looking in, it's easy for me to make all these suggestions. Now, look, my favorite clients are the ones that shoot down every single idea that I have, because those are the ones that after, 4, 5, 6 months, even a year, they're still clients because we're still working on it. It's the practice. Well, one thing that I will say is, just for clarification, you've used the word a couple of times, and I'm sure you can in your profession, expert. I am not an expert. I've been hired as an expert witness, but the Florida bar does not allow me to call myself an expert because I am not an expert. I am not board certified in anything. Other states may allow it, so I'm just putting it out there. I've been an expert witness where I've been paid to testify and look at bills and all that, but by no means am I saying I'm an expert. I am a practicing attorney, just like the rest of the world.
When you look at practicing law, that's one thing. And I'm sure that as we are all learning, we're all developing and growing. And I know that you love to learn and will try new things just to learn them. It's almost the practice of life. We're all practicing for whatever test there's going to be here at some point. I appreciate that. Same. I look at the expert and I want to put it back to kind of what you're doing in the alternative practice of law. When I did the introduction, we talked about, I will say you're a recovering attorney from practicing law and helping others figure out how do they stay in what they love doing. They just need to get to be more intentional about how they do it. And as you're talking, that keeps resonating for me. And I always say, if you can stand up and talk to 100 people for an hour about something, it could be gibberish, but you change their mindset, you change their life, you change their way of thinking, you could be considered an expert that. And everyone is an expert in something. It just may not be something that others value. So we've got to always find that intersection. And I think that the fact that you've changed lives, you've helped people change their careers, help them change their aspect. May not be an expert at the practice of law, because we will legally not put that label on there, but certainly, and even if it's just an expert in helping people practice where they want to get to. To shift just a little bit, there was a chapter in your book that I purposefully did not read, but I was so curious about it. Anytime I see rules and guidelines, I am a checklist manifesto. You give me a rule and a guideline, and I believe in those totally. So I saw the 1-day business rule. And I thought, oh, I can't wait to dig into this one.
I can take credit, but working with other coaches and other things, for me, and again, everybody's going to have their own interpretation, their own thing. For me, it's the 1-day business rule, right? If you email me Friday at 6 o'clock at night, chances are you're not going to hear back from me until Monday morning, right? That's what's going to happen. But I at least let people know. So I went away. I was fortunate enough. We just got back. We went to Hawaii as a family. And my signature block while I was gone said that limited access, limited travel, business and pleasure, put it all out there. Now that I'm back, my email block says, please be advised I just returned for being out of the office for an extended period of time. And my turnaround time may be 2 business days. So the 1 business day rule, there's lots of things. Number one is I try to get back to you within 1 business day. Number two is that I also don't let something fester for more than 1 business day in my head. Oh my God, I can't believe I lost that. I can't believe I missed that. I can't believe. I'm so annoyed at me. I'm pissed at me. Jason, you screwed up. You needed to fix it. You did it. But tomorrow's another day and you move on. And that I got to give credit to a gentleman named Mark Noodleberg, who is somebody who I've done some coaching with and some legal work with and all this. And he talks about, he was a football coach, and he talks about you need to leave it on the field. You could dwell on it for the night, but you wake up the next day because you got another game and you got another thing. So that's the 2 prongs that I talk about in the book. The first being get back to somebody within a business day or set an expectation. Hey, it's Friday. I'm getting on a plane. I'll be traveling all weekend. I'll be back in the office Monday. I'll get back to you by Tuesday. At least they know. And the other part is don't dwell on it. What's the expression? Not willow in your sorrow, but I forgot what the expression is. But like, sit there and feel sorry for yourself. Okay, like for how long are you going to do it? Feel sorry for myself. Now move on. Go. Hop back on that horse. And one of the things that I live my life is it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how you get back up. Not if you get back up, how. If you get back up saying, oh my God, he's going to punch me in the face again, I'm going down, well, then just stay down there. But if you get up and say, okay, I know it's coming, but I'm going to move to the right instead of the left, great. So make that change, learn from your mistakes. So I know that's throwing in a whole bunch of things, but
so many ways we can go with this, because there's certainly a tendency that whether something happens and you let it fester and you talk about taking ownership, gosh, I messed up on that, and you're festering on it. There's also I'm frustrated about this. This person said this. I'm not happy with how, whatever that be. You could set that 24-hour 1 business day rule to, I will address it with the person in 24 hours, or I will move on. And I can see if anyone has that issue, I can now see that I'm going to set a timer for 24 hours. And when that timer goes off in 24 hours, I've got to stop.
And the same thing sometimes, and one of the chapters is, don't have that knee-jerk reaction. If you don't have that 24-hour business rule, you're going to fire off something that I won't guarantee 100%, but 90% certain you're going to wish you didn't hit send. And that's one of the things. And I do that when I have a team around me. I will email somebody on the team or my advisory board saying, hey, this just came down in a case and the opposing counsel is driving me nuts. Would you mind reading this before I send it to opposing counsel? Or I email it to me and I let it sit. I'll email it, hit send, and then I'll go back to it tomorrow. Or I'll go back to it in a couple hours, or I'll go back to it after I've had dinner and I'm, I got a full stomach, or I just had a great, workout, and now, I'm feeling great, and I go back and read it. And chances are, I'd probably say 95% of the time, I don't send the email as written, and half the time I probably don't even send the email. It was therapeutic just to write it, and that's no knee-jerk reaction, and that's also, if you have the 1 business day rule, it also helps you. I got your email. I'll be back in touch. And society wants that, right? I got an email from somebody today saying, hey, Jason, I'm sending over the agreement for you to look at. Let me know. And I just wrote back, dear so-and-so, I received it, and I'll be back in touch sometime by Friday afternoon. Great. I set the expectation. If he says Friday isn't good enough, well, then it's not a client for me. If he says Friday is no problem, that sounds good to me.
Your vetting process.
Yep.
And I think that more and more we have come accustomed to that immediacy. Amazon has ruined me. When I can order it now and it is on my doorstep at 10 p.m. at night, if I send an email, I heard someone recently saying I've sent a text and it's been 2 days and the person didn't respond. Text messages, we're used to 2-minute responses.
Yeah.
We do have that immediacy expectation. And what I'm hearing from you is you don't need to respond with an answer and address it fully, but you've got to acknowledge it.
So I'm part of a legal department for a pretty substantial company, and I'm there as an independent contractor. And whenever somebody is onboarded, someone new, I always tell them the truth. The boss of the department is a phenomenal person. She respects everybody. She wants us all to work hard, and she wants us to give 110% effort. She is a worker. She will work 24/7. Great. If she emails you and it's after hours or on a weekend, all she expects you to do at that point in time is say, received, received, and I'll get to it Monday. Give me a couple hours. I'm in a movie with my kids, but I'll respond. No problem. I'm on it. Just some acknowledgement so that it moves to a different category on the list. Instead of my to-do list where I need to email someone to ask a question, it's now off my list and it's there saying, okay, now I have an expectation that they're going to tell me by Monday. If Tuesday rolls around, you still haven't heard, follow up. Hey, you told me I was going to get this on Monday. Are we still on track for it or whatever? People want instant gratification. And the problem is these things, right? This is the problem. You post something on Instagram, you know about it immediately. Your team played in a game. It could be a rec team. It could be a sports team. It could be a professional team. You could probably go on your phone within seconds of the game being over. Oh, my team won. Oh, my team lost. You'll know. We expect that as society. Everything is now, 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 now.
It comes down to setting expectations because you said we expect it.
Mhm.
And the individual that you're working with has clearly conveyed an expectation of you don't need to do the work right then and there, but I need to know that you've got it. And some of this we call it's the famous HBR article, who's got the monkey on their back.
Yep.
There's an expectation. I want to know that that monkey is handed off. I want to know that the football's been caught
Yep.
and they're running with it. How do you coach? And some of this also setting boundaries. I want to go back to the coaching a little bit, as well as maybe Jason Weiss himself, setting those boundaries or setting those expectations, because that's coming up in a lot of conversations as our personal and our professional lives. We're so blended for so long, and we almost just lost that. Where are our boundaries, or what are our personal expectations? And it's tough to expect others to know it unless we make them known.
So I believe this is the boundary killer. And for those people that are only listening and not seeing it, it's my cell phone, right? The boundary killer. Because nowadays we don't pay for phone calls. We don't have long distance. We don't have we all have unlimited data. We don't have roaming charges. We don't have to worry about our minutes rolling over like we used to do. So you don't have that anymore. So you could use your cell phone personal for business. You could use it for pleasure. You could use it for family. You could use it for anything and everything. And I think that's where the line got blurred because now everything, every phone, every text, every email is here, right? So they're all here. I get everything all the time there. So one of the things that I've conveyed upon my clients and that I've also told people that I'm working with is I have two things. Number one is that I have a second phone just for work. Now, if you call that phone, is it going to be routed to wherever I'm at during business hours or when I'm working? 100% yes. It'll all come to this phone.
Mm-hmm.
However, if it's Saturday and I don't want to talk work and I don't want to do anything, I leave that phone in my office. And yes, that text message will continue to sit there and I will get to it on Monday. If it's a phone call, it will ring to this phone call, this phone, unless I stop the forwarding. So that's number one, is to get a second cell phone. I think it's very important. It's $50 a month, $60 a month. It's so worth peace of mind. The second thing is that, and I've had this rule with clients that one client taught me: if you need me now, text me. If it's something that can wait, email me. If it's something that's urgent, call me. So when I get the text on a Saturday afternoon, hey, what's the status of my file? No, right? And I will call that person on Monday and I will say, hey, look, it's Saturday afternoon. Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted it to be on your radar for Monday. I'm like, then why didn't you email me?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll get, you know what? My bad. I'm sorry. You're right. And they won't make that mistake again. Look, if you have a sheriff there trying to evict you, and you need me on a Saturday to come out there and show that you paid your rent and did everything, okay, like that's urgent, right? That's not a problem. But not to what's the status of my file? No, that could wait till Monday. So set your boundaries and keep them. The other thing is this: don't let people know that you're working 24/7, even if you are, unless you want to be bothered 24/7. I'll on a Saturday wake up, be the only one up in the house, come down to the office, and I'll sit and work for 3, 4, 5 hours until everybody gets up and we're ready to go. But I won't hit send on a single email. They'll all sit there. So, and I'll either schedule them to go out Monday, or Monday morning, I'll come down, I'll read them again with fresh eyes, and then I'll hit send. There's no problem with working, but you don't need to let the world know, because the where I got was, oh, I know it's Saturday and you're working, so I can ask this question. Nope. Oh, it's Saturday and I know you're really not working, but you're checking. Nope. Nope. I don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm slowly reclaiming those boundaries and slowly making those lines in the sand again. When I left to open up my own office, they got completely blurred because it was any client.
Yeah.
I needed to be there 100% of the time, all the time, 24/7. Now that I'm established 12, 13 years later, you don't like the way I practice, you don't like the fact that I won't answer your call on a Saturday if you called 8 times and you tell me it's not important, please go try to work with someone else.
I want to go back on, it took you time to get there.
Yes.
And even if you are starting out your practice, I think there are some ways that you can set some boundaries and you can set expectations. And I love you may be working on a Saturday, but if you don't want to be with clients on a Saturday, don't send mixed messages and send them. It can go outgoing, but not incoming. I think that's where we're seeing a lot more of, to set boundaries of weekends, whether it's nights. I've seen less and less individuals. My incoming email has gone down significantly. LinkedIn postings have gone down significantly in those off hours. And I think as kind of a business culture, a lot of people are getting back to that and reclaiming it. So I think that's a good boundary to be putting out there.
And I think COVID kind of blurred it again, right? Now that people are being required to go back into work and work not out of your house 5 days a week, but maybe only 2 days a week, like those boundaries are there. Like my productivity and my amount of work during COVID increased tremendously. Why? I was waking up, I was, washing my face, having a cup of coffee, and sitting down. There was no commute. There was no getting the kids out to school. There was no, it was into this chair. And I when we bought the house that I'm currently living in, I knew I was going to work from home. I needed a dedicated office. Problem was, my dining room was my office during all of COVID. That's terrible. Walk out from your bedroom and there's your office. Oh, let me go to work, because you didn't know any better. And there were days I would wake up, it was Saturday and I'm working. I'm like, why aren't the kids getting up for school? And my wife would be like, it's Saturday. So we need to be cognizant of that. We need to remember that. We need to, and look, clients have rules too. I have one client taught me one of the things which was great. Every day a cell phone call drops. His rule is, if I called you and we get disconnected, I will call you back. If you called me and we get disconnected, you call me back. And that's where I started with, okay, I like that. And I tell clients that all the time. If you're going to call me and we get disconnected, you call me back. Because that way you're not getting each other's voicemails and all this. And
just happened yesterday. I can understand that.
And if you tell people and they're truly respectful people, yeah, mistakes are going to happen. Oh my God, I forgot. I should have emailed you on a Saturday. I'm so sorry. No problem. As opposed to if they just disregard it, well, then think about if that's someone you want to work with.
Amen. Now, when you look at all the experience, you've got, what do you say, 18 chapters of a book of life experience, things that you've learned. When you dwindle it down to here are the key takeaways of the book, and here's the advice I would give individuals, whether they're trying to figure out what they want to do in life personally, or they're growing their business or growing their professional life, how would you distill that down?
So for attorneys, we are our book of business. And what that means is you could be the best attorney on the planet, but if you don't have a client to do the work for, then you're no good.
Mhm.
So that means you want to do great for clients, you want to show interest in what they're doing, you want to do right by them, you want to remember you're a human being and that they're a human being, and that they're going to want to work with you. Give them
Mhm.
reasons to. Hey, just give me a call before you enter the contract. I'm not going to bill you for the phone call, right? All of a sudden, it's now I'm accessible because it's not going to cost me $70 to ask them a quick phone call. Huh, I like that. And all of a sudden, you're getting those phone calls, which will turn into more. Same thing. I think they call it loss leaders at grocery stores, right? Or things that are on the end
Mhm.
cap. They get you in there. Uh, Coca-Cola products, right? Buy two, get one free. Oh my God, I'm going to buy three. And then you go down the there and there's chips and there's this and there's that. So it gets you in the door. It gets you that thing. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, I say it all the time. Business is personal. Make sure it's not just business. And I catch myself all the time. We're getting on a Zoom. Hey, what's up? You emailed me this contract and I stopped myself. I'm like, wait, more importantly, how was your trip? How was your weekend? Your daughter was in a dance competition. How did she do? Your son was in a spelling bee. How did he do? And you make those notes. You know that. You ask those questions. Look, I got clients that they don't want to talk about any of that. They want to just get straight to it. Michael, I read your email. I'm ready to go. That's how I deal with him. But Steve, he wants to talk for 20 minutes. And he always says, he goes, I like that you asked me that question because I know you're not billing for this part. So he's like, and then he'll say to me, okay, you could start the clock now. Bill me now. It's like, okay, that's fair.
Hit.
But you got to know your clients. You got to know your audience. You got to know, just always be prepared. And that's what it is. And be ready to roll with punches. And you're going to have the ups and you're going to have the downs. And the advice that I give myself as I'm looking at myself in this screen is remember, you got to celebrate the highs just as much as you dwell on the lows. And you got to do it more. Celebrate those highs. And I got to remind myself, big win. I wrote a book, right? I wrote a book. Okay, that's like how I feel. But it's got to be, I wrote a book, right? I lost that case, but I wrote a book. Pump yourself up. Remind yourself of that.
So you can celebrate the wins. You'll give yourself more than 24 hours for that one. Dwelling, you'll give yourself less than 20. So we got that over under rule. Got it.
I mean, look, you can't, but at the same time, most clients are like, yeah, you won yesterday, but what are you doing for me today? So you can remind yourself of those wins. You can remind yourself while you're doing it. Look, I went to Hawaii for 8 days. The only reason I was able to do that is practicing law. Practice, work my tush off, constantly, doing what I got to do and saved up enough money to go to Hawaii. It only took me 8 years to save, but I did it. My goal is to go back to Hawaii in 23 months from now. So I got 23 months to save. But that's okay. And that's the other thing. Give yourself carrots. I'm a huge, person like that. If oh my God, all I'm doing is working and all of this, but I'm going away for Thanksgiving and that's why I'm working, or I'm taking the family on a thing, or I'm buying a new car, or I'm getting a puppy. Give yourself like incentives to get out of bed and to do this thing, because you got to remember you're working to live, you're not living to work. And someone told this to me the other day, and I have it here. I apologize.
Mhm.
Don't forget the goal is not money. The goal is to spend your time as you wish. And think about that. I'm not going to comment. The goal isn't money. It's to spend the time as you wish, because if you have money, you can do what you want. And if you earn money, you can do what you want. So earn your money and spend the time the way that you want.
And some don't need much or to earn much at all to still spend it the way they want, but you get caught up in that cycle. Jason, thank you so much for sharing some of those insights, some of your personal journey with me. I always enjoy the discussion. And again, the book, Stuff They Never Taught You in Law
In law
School.
school.
You show it. There we
Yep.
go. We can do
Stuff
that and
stuff
not
they
get
never
dinged.
taught you in law school, the survival
Perfect.
guide to navigating the law.
Uh, um, Teacher, coach, mentor, practitioner. Thank you for sharing, and we'll see you next time on Serious Leadership.